Myanmar, known as Burma until 1989, gained independence from British rule in 1948. The newfound freedom, however, did not bring unity. The country inherited a complex ethnic landscape with over 135 recognized ethnic groups. The largest group, the Bamar, dominated the central plains, while various ethnic minorities resided in the peripheral hills and border regions. The departing British administration had exacerbated these divisions, often favoring certain groups over others. From the outset, the newly formed Burmese government, dominated by the Bamar majority, faced armed resistance from various ethnic groups. These groups sought greater autonomy, rights, and recognition within the newly independent nation. Their demands were often met with military force, leading to a cycle of violence and distrust that has persisted for decades. The Karen National Union, or KNU, formed in 1947, was one of the first and most prominent ethnic armed organizations to challenge the central government. Their struggle for an independent Karen state, coupled with similar movements by other groups like the Kachin, Shan, and Karenni, plunged the country into a state of near constant civil war. This ongoing conflict has had a devastating impact on Myanmar. It has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, displaced millions, and hindered the country's economic and social development. The promises of independence remain unfulfilled for many, particularly those living in the conflict zones. After decades of military rule, Myanmar embarked on a fragile transition to democracy in 2011. A quasi-civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi and her National League for Democracy, or NLD, party came to power in 2015, raising hopes for a peaceful and democratic future. However, the military, known as the Tatmadaw, retained significant power and influence under the 2008 constitution. They controlled key ministries, held a guaranteed number of seats in parliament, and maintained their own economic interests. The Tatmadaw's grip on power, coupled with the ongoing ethnic conflicts, meant that true peace and stability remained elusive. On February 1st, 2021, the Tatmadaw, led by Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, staged a coup d'etat, overturning the results of the 2020 elections, which the NLD had won by a landslide. They arrested Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint, and other senior NLD officials, plunging the country back into military dictatorship. The coup sparked widespread protests across the country. Millions took to the streets demanding a return to democracy and the release of detained leaders. The Tatmadaw responded with brutal force, firing live ammunition into crowds, arresting thousands, and shutting down independent media. The Myanmar conflict is characterized by a complex web of actors, each with their own agendas and allegiances. Understanding these actors is crucial to navigating the intricacies of the crisis. The Tatmadaw, the military junta that seized power in the 2021 coup, is the primary antagonist in the current conflict. They justify their actions by claiming widespread election fraud, a claim widely disputed by international observers. The Tatmadaw seeks to maintain its grip on power at all costs, using violence and intimidation to silence dissent. The National Unity Government, or NUG, formed by elected lawmakers ousted in the coup, represents the civilian government overthrown by the Tatmadaw. The NUG enjoys widespread popular support and is recognized by many countries as the legitimate government of Myanmar. They are allied with various ethnic armed organizations and are actively engaged in diplomatic efforts to garner international support. Ethnic armed organizations, or EAOs, some of which have been fighting for autonomy for decades, represent a diverse array of groups with varying objectives. Some EAOs have allied with the NUG, seeing the coup as an opportunity to advance their own goals for self-determination. Others have remained neutral, wary of becoming entangled in a conflict that could further destabilize their regions. A chorus of condemnation, a lack of action. The international community has overwhelmingly condemned the 2021 coup and the Tatmadaw subsequent human rights abuses. The United Nations, through various resolutions and statements, has called for an end to the violence, the release of political prisoners, and a return to democratic rule. Individual countries, particularly Western democracies, have imposed targeted sanctions on military leaders and their business interests. However, concrete action has been limited, with no signs of a coordinated international intervention to pressure the junta. Neighboring countries grappling with the influx of refugees fleeing the violence face a particularly difficult challenge. Thailand and India have borne the brunt of the refugee crisis, straining their resources and raising concerns about regional stability. Seeking peace, a long and uncertain road ahead. The path towards peace in Myanmar remains fraught with obstacles. The Tatmadaw shows no willingness to relinquish power, while the resistance, fragmented and outgunned, faces an uphill battle. The international community, divided and hesitant to intervene directly, has struggled to find effective levers of pressure. A lasting solution to the conflict requires a multi-pronged approach. Firstly, the Tatmadaw must be held accountable for its crimes and pressured to engage in meaningful dialogue with the NUG and ethnic groups. This will require coordinated international pressure, including targeted sanctions, arms embargoes, and diplomatic isolation. Secondly, the international community must provide sustained humanitarian assistance to those displaced by the conflict and support civil society organizations working to document human rights abuses and promote reconciliation. Finally, any lasting solution must address the root causes of the conflict, including the long-standing grievances of ethnic minorities. This will necessitate a comprehensive political dialogue that includes all stakeholders, with the aim of establishing a federal democratic system that guarantees equality, autonomy, and justice for all of Myanmar's people. The road to peace will be long and arduous, but it is a journey that must be taken for the sake of all those who have suffered in this long-running conflict.